Welcome to Dating Deja Vu, the podcast where we talk about your patterns, your pitfalls, and personal growth in modern dating. I'm your host, Christina Hathaway, marriage and family therapist and dating and relationship expert. In today's episode, we're going to talk about more access, less intimacy. Yes, we're talking about the real cost of hookup culture. So buckle up, babies. If your love life looks a lot of bit of the same over and over again, it might be deja vu, but it also might be you. So let's figure it out together. What is up, Deja Crew? Welcome to another episode of Dating Deja Vu, the podcast that is #1 streamed in the world soon. I'm all about manifesting that shit. And I feel like the little snippets that we do, the topics we talk about are relevant, especially because I just pull whatever it is I'm talking about with my coaching clients and push it into this podcast. So today we're getting to a topic a lot of people talk about. It's like out there in the media, but it's not always honestly talked about like what is happening, and that is hookup culture. We are told it's about freedom. It's about no pressure, no strings attached, right? We love that for us. If that is true for you, then pop off, queen. Do your damn thing. Get yours. Move on. However, for a lot of people, it doesn't actually feel free. It doesn't feel good at all. It feels very empty, very performative, very disconnected. It leaves you very confused when you think you're being this independent, and I'm talking to my ladies, independent woman, and you're left like feeling used at times. Maybe you're not. There's been times, I'm going to get real candid in this episode. There's literally been times where I had just a hookup partner. The interesting thing about he and I is that we would go on dates and then we'd hook up, but we were not together. And we'd laugh, he'd play music. This sounds like a fuckboy, but he was really sweet. And we had a lot of fun together. And he wasn't into it. And I didn't need that relationship at the time. It never became like a thing. So I've been there where I have done this the right way. But again, for a lot of you, it can make you feel like why a casual hookup makes you almost feel lonelier afterwards, right? If you felt this way, you are not crazy. That is the reason why there's a reason why you feel this way. Hold on. Okay. So how hookup culture kind of promised this, gonna connect with someone. It's gonna make me feel like really empowered, but it really is this kind of performative thing. So hookup culture sells us a story that sex without feelings is strong, right? Detachment from people is empowering, and fast intimacy is like progress in the relationship. But what a lot of people usually experience, again, is confusion, shame, disconnection, guilt, abandonment, rejection, right? I recently had a client tell me after a string of casual hookups, she didn't feel liberated. I had a client who left a relationship to let her freak flag fly, and she did. And we loved that for her. But afterwards, she would question herself. She would get into a lot of not great situations, I should say. She almost felt all the things I listed, and she was like, should I have left this relationship? The hardest part is she again blamed herself for not being as chill about it as she thought that she would be. And oftentimes these hookups were these like really intense things, not just from the sex standpoint, but like the relationship itself. But when we unpacked it, she wanted to see where she was sexually. So there was a part of it she got out of it. But then she actually just realized she really wanted a connection with someone safe who could explore with her sexually, not this kind of dominatrix stuff that we were getting into, which I'm not opposed to that. But for her, it was like really trying to, it almost became extreme. And so I want to talk about something that no one talks about, and that's how our early experience with sex shapes modern dating. We don't just wake up one day and separate sex from intimacy. We don't just wake up one day and know what sex is. We either learn it through education or we learn it because we were exposed to it early. Now, normally in your teen years, you start talking about it and people start having sex. It might be, younger now. I don't know. It might be later now because looking at my nephew, who is a senior in high school, pretty sure none of them are having sex. I think they just play video games all day. And he's very handsome and very talented. I'm like, bro, come on. Not that he needs to have sex, but I'd like him to go on a date. Anyways, hopefully he's not listening to this. Blah, blah, blah. What was I saying? If we are exposed to sex early on in our lives, we are going, specifically in childhood. I was, and it almost became this thing where I thought that's what people wanted from me. Now, I was not sexually assaulted and trigger warning, I was not raped, but I was exposed to those feelings and touching and stuff like that. And, whether it's TV shows, movies, music videos, back in the day, remember those were things. We show sex as immediate, as casual, as emotionless, right? Social media very much glamorizes this hookup culture without showing the aftermath. Reality TV very much shows this hookup culture. Think like really almost every reality show. And there's a lack of real conversations about emotional intimacy being tied with physical intimacy. And then again, if you were exposed to sex before you're emotionally ready to understand it, you learn access to your body equals connection or intimacy. Being wanted or being sought out for that means being valued. Physical closeness equals emotional closeness, or simply, this is all I'm good for. I remember talking to a friend and she was like, I just don't understand why I can't meet a partner. She's like, it's like all these guys, we just hook up and then it like ends. And I go, well, I have a hard question for you. I said, do you feel like that's all they want from you and you're putting yourself in that position? And then she was like, I remember exactly where we were. We were driving down this mountain because we were on this trip up north in northern Arizona. And she just looked up. She goes, yeah, that's exactly what I've been doing. I think that that's all I'm good for. So then I give in and they leave. And this pattern happens over and over again. I go, well, that's the work you need to do. Right. It's not the same, right? It's not the emotional closeness. It's not the intimacy. It's not the being valued. We're confusing all of that. We're confusing physical closeness with emotional closeness. We're confusing being wanted with being valued. When we do this, we end up feeling deeply alone. We end up feeling not just mentally, emotionally, but physically alone. And I want you to remember that being desired and being seen for who you are not the same thing. They are so very different. So, why hookup culture keeps you feeling lonely? When connection is replaced with this, like sex, we'll just call it, you start to learn to be more sexual, to be chosen, right? Instead of connect for who you are, right? And to connect to be known by that person. Value of being wanted is more than the value of being respected. And we accept chemistry as a substitute, or passion really, as a substitute for care. And so it's, oh, I'm wanted because I look hot. I'm wanted. He can't keep his hands off of me. And it's very early on. The conversation starts very sexually from the get-go, where we're not even getting to know you, but I want you. I want you for my sexual pleasure. I don't really want to know you for anything else. But in a lot of people's minds who have a hard time with this, again, I'm not talking to the people who are like, no, actually, I'm perfectly fine in this situation and I'm going to continue to be this person. That is true. Some people can do that. And I love that for you. I'm not talking to that person. Again, if you were exposed to sex at an early age, you have this idea about it, you were exposed to it before you emotionally should have been, you're going to have a very different experience with it than someone who has not. And again, you are going to continue to think that sex equals me being chosen. And signs that you're stuck in this cycle are feeling the rush to hook up. Even you might even feel the rush while hooking up, and then you just feel empty afterwards. Like you, yes, we want to feel that passion and that connection and that sensuality with people. But if it's making you feel empty afterwards, then that is a problem. You tell yourself it's fine. I wish you could see my eyes blinking. Like I wish on the cartoon they go pink, pink, pink. It's not fine. You're quietly hurting inside. You're hoping. That's what you're doing. You're hoping inside. Maybe today he won't just call me at 2 a.m. He'll call me at 2 p.m. and ask me on a date. You're craving a deeper connection, but you feel too vulnerable to ask for it because people just want you for sex. It's hookup culture. I'm just being the cool girl. I'm easygoing. Are you? I don't think so. And if casual sex keeps feeling like casual rejection, it's not because you're broken, right? We are designed as humans to have a sense of love and connection. I talk about this all of the time. So, what does real connection look like if I didn't have to tell you over and over again, being emotionally seen, right? Not just physically desired, being emotionally seen as is without having to change who you are, feeling safe enough to slow it the fuck down. Say, no, I'm not ready for this. I would like to move slow and expressing those needs. And if that person's like, I can't do that, then tell them to leave. If someone can't respect your sexual boundaries, that is a big, huge, fat flag. Red one, flag. No, 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 no. We're not doing that. Trust that you're valued beyond that moment. This is a huge one. I, in this relationship, want to be valued outside of this moment. I want to be valued by this person. This could be a part of that value. But let me tell you, as someone who has been married, who has a lot of friends, that sex is a part of the relationship. But as you get older, you have kids, all of that, it it doesn't become as much of a focus as when you're younger, right? So you need to know, like, okay, I'm still going to be okay without this thing. And sex is an extension, like I said, of the connection and not a substitute for the connection. It's an extension. And I know there's a lot of people who are very connected to each other, and that actually makes the sex even better, right? So if you want to reflect on this, I want you to think about, am I seeking validation or connection when I date? And I want to tell you something I used to say, well, I want to hook up with them. When again, that was actually a protective mechanism, because if I was the one making that decision, then I couldn't be hurt when they just wanted to hook up with me. But in all reality, I was also creating a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I would hook up, then it would be like whatever, and it would end. But what would have happened if I didn't? Right? Now, I believe everything happens for a reason. So great. Number 2, do I feel better or lonelier after sexual encounters? And what kind of intimacy am I truly craving? Be fucking real with yourself. Again, if you want to let that freak flag fly, you do it. Have those boundaries. Know what you want. Make sure you're being safe. Make sure you're being safe, guys. What is this? I hear y'all aren't wearing protection these days. Stop it. Stop doing that. But if that's not you and you're like, "Oh, I just wish he would take me out," or When your friends ask, oh, how's so and so? You're like, oh, it's great. And you're like making shit up. Don't do that. You can move on. You will find someone. All right. Well, I'm not sure why, but my camera just took a dive and it's not working. So we are using the Zoom camera. Let's just close this out because this is a whole thing. So again, hookup culture made it feel like it was a connection, right? That connection was instant. Swipe, match, meet up, have sex, but real connection and real intimacy, it still takes presence, right? Vulnerability, time, that is important. And if you are not asking too much to have those needs to be met before someone has access to your body, you're just asking for the thing that you were always meant to have, which is to be seen, to be heard, to be known, and to feel safe. So that's it. Thank you for listening to another episode. If you find this episode helpful, make sure you're following, subscribing, give us that 5-star rating and review. Share this for someone who you're like, girl, stop giving me access to your body, right? That doesn't mean that after a few dates, you don't have to, or you have to be this prude. Like, just know when it's safe to do that. If you haven't already, make sure to give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at Dating Deja Vu. And just remember, you deserve more than being wanted. You deserve to be known. And if you're getting a lot of the same of these hookup fuckboy situations, it might be deja vu, but it also might be you. Talk to you next time.